The massive ship, unyielding storm, cut through the darkness of space. Its black metal hull absorbed light rather than reflected it. At the command center stood Commander Taiho, his tall frame wrapped in a uniform that bore 7 different planet symbols, each one a mark of conquest. "Report," Taiho said, his voice deep and steady. His eyes never left the main screen showing a small blue planet. Science Officer Ju approached, her steps light but confident. She handed him a datapad. "Earth analysis complete, Commander. It is as we expected. Another death world, but less dangerous than our previous conquests." Taiho nodded, pleased. The Herrick Dominion had built their reputation on taking the most deadly planets in the galaxy. Where other species feared to land, the Herrick thrived. Their bodies were built for harsh conditions. Thick skin resistant to extreme temperatures, dense muscles adapted to high gravity, and lungs that could filter toxins. "Show me the details," Taiho ordered. Juwoo's fingers moved across the screen, bringing up images of Earth. The planet has unpredictable weather systems. Storms can form in minutes. Temperature ranges from -50 to +50 degrees in different regions. Gravity is 1.1 times our homeworld, noticeable but manageable. And the dominant species? Humans, Juwoo said, displaying images captured from their long-range scans. Physically unimpressive. No natural armor, weak muscle density, poor sensory abilities. Their only advantage seems to be their numbers and basic technology. Taiho studied the images of humans going about their daily lives, unaware they were being watched. They survive on a death world with such weak bodies. Interesting. They compensate with artificial protection, Juwoo explained. Structures to shield them from weather, vehicles to transport them, weapons to defend against predators. The tactical officer, Dongo, joined them at the viewing screen. Their military capabilities are primitive compared to ours. Projectile weapons, basic aircraft, limited space travel. No energy shields or plasma technology. Taiho smiled, revealing teeth designed for tearing meat. "This will be our easiest conquest yet." He turned to address the bridge crew. "The Herrick Dominion has taken 7 death worlds in 10 years. Each one was said to be impossible to conquer. Each time, we proved our superiority." He pointed to the blue planet on the screen. "Earth will be number 8. The crew responded with a traditional gesture, right fist pressed against left shoulder. It was the salute of conquerors. Later, in the preparation bay, soldiers checked their equipment. Each wore battle armor designed to enhance their already formidable bodies. Squad leader Hyunwoo inspected his team's gear with careful attention. "First landing team, report to me," he called. 6 soldiers formed a line before him. Among them was Sungmin, a biologist assigned to collect samples. "Our mission is simple," Hyunwoo said. "We land, secure a perimeter, and begin analysis of the immediate environment. Sungmin will collect biological samples. We need to confirm what the scans tell us, that this planet, while hostile, is within our ability to dominate." One soldier raised his hand. "Sir, what about the natives? Avoid contact if possible. If encountered, capture one for study. If they resist." Hyunwoo didn't need to finish. Everyone knew the protocol for resistance. On the command deck, Taiho watched as the landing vessels prepared for deployment. Juwoo stood beside him, reviewing final data. "Commander, there is one anomaly in our scans," she said. "Earth has more biodiversity than any planet we've encountered. Over 8 million different species." Taiho considered this a sign of chaos, not strength. A balanced ecosystem would have fewer, more dominant species. Juwoo nodded, but something in her expression showed doubt. "Speak freely," Taiho said. "Such diversity suggests extreme adaptability. For so many species to coexist, they must all be highly specialized for their environmental niches." Taiho dismissed her concern with a wave. "Or it means none are truly dominant. Either way, they will fall before us like all the others." The landing vessels detached from the mothership, beginning their descent toward Earth's surface. The conquest of the 8th Death World had begun. Little did they know, this death world was unlike any they had faced before. 2 months after landing on Earth, the Herrick invasion had stalled. Commander Tahoe stood in the medical bay of their base, looking at rows of sick soldiers. More than half of his force was now ill or weakened. "This planet is beating us," he said quietly to Juu. "Not the planet itself," she corrected. "It's the combination of the planet and its people." A message alert sounded. "Commander, urgent report from Scout Team 3, said the communications officer. Tahoe moved to the command center where a video feed showed Hyunwoo. The squad leader looked tired, his normally bright eyes now dull. "Report," Tahoe ordered. "Sir, we've observed something strange." Hyunwoo's voice was strained. "We followed a group of humans to study their behavior. They traveled to a mountain area where the temperature was below freezing. Then he paused as if not believing his own words. They removed their protective clothing and entered a frozen lake. They exposed themselves to freezing water." Juu asked, shocked. "Voluntarily?" "Yes. Then they sat in a small hut." 1 month after the Herrick retreat, their mothership, Unyielding Storm, orbited the edge of Earth's solar system. Inside the ship's main laboratory, Juu presented her final report to Commander Tahoe and the Dominion's High Council, who watched via holographic projection. "Honorable Council, I have completed my analysis of Earth," Juu began. "My findings will change how we view death worlds forever." The 7 council members, each representing a conquered planet, listened intently. "Earth is not merely a death world," Juu explained. "It is what I now classify as a super death world, a planet that produces the ultimate survivors." She displayed images of Earth's varied environments: deserts, oceans, mountains, jungles. Most harsh planets have consistent conditions. High gravity remains high. Toxic air remains toxic. But Earth's conditions change constantly and dramatically. Its axis tilt creates seasons. Its complex atmosphere generates unpredictable weather. Even its crust moves, creating earthquakes and volcanoes. "And this created the humans?" asked one council member. "Yes, but what makes humans truly remarkable is not just that they survive these conditions. It's that they thrive because of them." Juu showed data charts comparing human adaptability to other species. Humans don't just endure change. They seek it out. They deliberately expose themselves to hardship to become even more adaptable. Tahoe stepped forward. "I recommend we classify Earth as unsuitable for conquest and establish a quarantine zone around its solar system." The council members looked shocked. "A quarantine? For what purpose?" demanded the eldest. "Because humans are dangerous in a way we've never encountered," Tahoe explained. "Not because of their weapons or technology, but because of their adaptability. If they ever leave their planet in significant numbers, I believe no environment would be beyond their ability to colonize, including our homeworld." On Earth, Colonel Yuna and Dr. Jihoon walked through the abandoned alien base. Earth's weather had already begun reclaiming the structures. Vines grew over metal walls, and rain had started rusting the alien equipment. "Earth is already erasing them," Jihoon observed. They entered what had been the aliens' laboratory. Inside, they found equipment and research materials left behind in the hasty evacuation. "Look at this," Yuna said, pointing to a star chart with 7 planets highlighted, the Herrick's previous conquests. They really did rule death worlds. "Until they met Earth," Jihoon added. He was examining the alien technology with excitement. "Their material science is decades ahead of ours. Their energy systems are remarkably efficient." Jihoon smiled. "We're human. Adaptation is what we do best." As they continued exploring, the temperature outside dropped suddenly, and rain began to fall. Neither human noticed or commented on the change. Their bodies adjusted automatically, something so natural they didn't even think about it. "What fascinates me most," Jihoon said, examining an alien environmental suit, "is that they never understood their own weakness. They thought being strong against specific threats made them superior. They didn't see that adaptability itself is the ultimate survival trait. Yunha picked up what appeared to be an alien communication device. Do you think they'll come back? I doubt it. They seemed genuinely shocked by their failure here. But if they do, Ji-hoon looked at the alien technology surrounding them. We'll be ready. We'll have studied their technology and adapted it to our needs. Outside, snow began to fall as the temperature dropped further. Inside, the humans continued their work, their bodies adjusting to the building's falling temperature without conscious thought. In the depths of space, the Herrick ship moved away from Earth's solar system. Tahoe stood at the viewing window, watching the blue planet shrink in the distance. It wasn't a failure, Tahoe replied. We learned something more valuable than conquering another world. We learned our limits. And about a species without limits, Ju added. I've sent my final classification to the galactic database. She showed him the entry on her datapad. Earth, Class 5 Super Death World. The only known planet to produce a species that evolved beyond mere survival to adaptive mastery. Native species humans classified as potential galactic colonizers due to unprecedented environmental adaptability. Recommended acutanen, non-interference, and observation only. The Herrick ship engaged its faster-than-light drive, disappearing into the vastness of space. Behind it, Earth continued its endless changes, spinning, tilting, warming, cooling, and producing storms, quakes, and floods that its remarkable inhabitants barely noticed. The Death World and its children continued their dance of adaptation, oblivious to how extraordinary they truly were in the cosmos. Dr. Ji-hoon worked late into the night. His laboratory was filled with samples taken from the alien base. Microscopes, test tubes, and computers surrounded him as he finalized his plan. When Colonel Yumha entered, he looked up with tired but excited eyes. I've confirmed it, he said, pointing to a screen showing alien cell structures. The Herrick immune system is completely different from ours. It's powerful but inflexible. Colonel Yunha looked at the images. Explain it simply. Human immune systems learn and adapt. When we encounter a new disease, our bodies create specific defenses against it. Ji-hoon pointed to another screen showing human cells. But the Herrick immune system is like a strong wall. It's the same no matter what attacks it. And that's their weakness. Yes, Earth has millions of microbes that constantly evolve. Our bodies evolved alongside them. But the Herrick never experienced this kind of microbial diversity. Yunha studied the reports from the recent battle. Half their forces are already sick. Your plan might not be necessary. This isn't just about winning a battle, Ji-hoon said. We need to understand why they can't adapt to Earth. It could tell us more about them and about ourselves. Yunha nodded. What do you need? Permission to release these bacterial cultures near their base. They're harmless to humans but will overwhelm their systems. And I need more samples from their ship if possible. Yunha thought for a moment. Using biological warfare, even with non-lethal bacteria, was a serious step. But the aliens had come as conquerors. Permission granted, but limit the spread to their base area only. On the Herrick ship orbiting Earth, Commander Tahoe received disturbing news. Ju's face was grim on the video screen. Commander, I must report a crisis. 40% of our ground forces are now sick. The medical team can't keep up with new cases. Tahoe's jaw tightened. What's causing it? Earth's microorganisms. They evolve faster than our treatments can work. And there's something else. Ju paused. I believe the humans are deliberately releasing more bacteria near our base. Biological warfare, Tahoe said with grudging respect. They're using their planet's weapons against us. Jumu looked exhausted even through the screen. Commander, I've made a discovery about Earth that changes everything. It's not just another death world. Explain. Most harsh planets have consistent dangers, extreme heat, high gravity, toxic air. Life there evolves specific defenses against these specific threats. She showed him data charts. But Earth is different. Its dangers constantly change. Seasons shift. Weather transforms in hours. Even the ground itself moves over time. What does this mean for us? Earth doesn't just test life's ability to endure hardship. It tests life's ability to adapt to change itself. Ju looked directly at Tahoe. Commander, we evolved to be strong. Humans evolved to be adaptable. Tahoe was silent, processing this disturbing information. Can we overcome this? I don't know, but there's more to understand about humans. Look at this. Ju showed images of humans engaged in various activities. They climb freezing mountains for enjoyment. They run long distances in extreme heat. They swim in dangerous waters. They eat plants that burn their mouths. They voluntarily expose themselves to pain and danger, Tahoe said, confused. Exactly. They don't just survive Earth's challenges. They seek out more. They constantly test and expand their adaptability. Tahoe had never encountered a species like this in all his years of conquest. Continue your research. I need to know everything about these humans. After ending the call, Tahoe stood at the viewing window of his ship, looking down at the blue planet below. For the first time in his life, he felt doubt. The Herrick Dominion had conquered 7 death worlds by being the strongest, the most resilient species in the galaxy. But on Earth, strength alone wasn't enough. This planet demanded something the Herrick had never needed before, the ability to change. Meanwhile, in his laboratory, Dr. Jihoon made a final entry in his research log. The irony is perfect. The Herrick evolved to conquer death worlds, but in doing so, they lost the very thing needed to survive the ultimate death world: adaptability. The landing vessels touched down in a dense forest. Trees towered above them, their green leaves blocking much of the sunlight. As the doors opened, the Herrick soldiers felt Earth's air hit their sensors. Oxygen levels higher than expected. Hanwoo noted, checking the readings on his wrist device. Proceed with caution. Keep helmets sealed until Sungmin confirms it's safe. The 6 soldiers moved out in formation, their heavy boots crushing the underbrush. Earth felt different under their feet, softer than the rocky terrain of their homeworld. Sungmin stopped every few meters to collect samples. He picked up leaves, soil, and small insects, placing each in separate containment units. This is extraordinary, he said, examining a beetle through his helmet visor. I've counted 30 different insect species in just this small area. On Herrick Prime, we have only 5 insect variants for the entire planet. Hyunwoo was less interested in bugs. Stay focused. We need to find a suitable location for the base camp. They walked for an hour, mapping the terrain. The forest gave way to a clearing beside a river. Hyunwoo decided this would be their first outpost. Set up perimeter defenses, he ordered. Dongmin, begin scanning for human settlements. As the soldiers worked, the sky darkened suddenly. What had been a clear blue turned gray in minutes. Weather change, warned one of the soldiers. Atmospheric disturbance approaching. Thunder boomed overhead, making the ground shake. Then rain began to fall, not the gentle, predictable rain of their homeworld, but heavy drops that hammered against their armor. Is this normal? Asked a young soldier, looking up at the violent sky. Sungmin checked his data. According to my information, this is called a thunderstorm. Common on Earth, but highly unpredictable. Lightning struck a nearby tree, splitting it in half. The soldiers instinctively moved into defensive positions. Take shelter, Hanwoo ordered. They retreated under a rock overhang as the storm intensified. While they waited, Sungmin studied the plants growing nearby. Commander, you should see this. He pointed to various plants. These species all grow within meters of each other, yet they have completely different survival strategies. This one stores water. This one repels insects. This one attracts birds for seed dispersal. Hyunwoo didn't see the significance. What's your point? On most planets, one superior adaptation would dominate. Here, countless different approaches coexist. It suggests an environment that changes so frequently that no single strategy works best. The rain stopped as suddenly as it had started. The sun broke through the clouds, turning the wet forest into a steam bath. The temperature rose quickly. 20-degree temperature increase in minutes, one soldier reported. Our climate models didn't predict this. Hyunwoo contacted the ship. Landing team to unyielding storm. Request updated weather patterns. The local conditions are volatile. As evening approached, the team set up their base camp. Force fields hummed around the perimeter, and sensor arrays monitored the surrounding forest. Sungmin worked in a portable lab, analyzing his samples. "I need to report to Science Officer Juwoo immediately," he said, his voice urgent. "These life forms have unexpected properties." Before Hyunwoo could respond, a sensor alarm beeped. "Movement detected," said Dongmin. 300 meters north. Multiple targets. The soldiers readied their weapons. Through the trees, they saw figures approaching. Humans. There were 5 of them, wearing simple clothing and carrying packs on their backs. They walked confidently through the difficult terrain, talking and sometimes laughing. "Hikers," said Sungmin, consulting his data. "Humans who walk through wilderness for pleasure." Hyunwoo couldn't believe it. They exposed themselves to this environment voluntarily, without protection. Their files indicate humans engage in many dangerous activities for enjoyment. They call it recreation. The hikers hadn't noticed the alien camp yet. Hyunwoo had to decide quickly, avoid contact or make their presence known. "Capture one for study," he ordered. Stun settings only. The soldiers moved silently through the trees, surrounding the hikers. When they emerged from cover, the humans froze in shock. For one moment, the two species stared at each other, the armored conquerors of death worlds and the seemingly fragile natives of Earth. Then the humans ran, moving with surprising speed through the forest they knew intimately. One soldier fired his stun weapon, but missed. "Pursue them," Hyunwoo ordered, surprised by the humans' quick reaction and knowledge of the terrain. The hunt was on, but somehow, Hyunwoo felt a strange unease. Something about these humans was not what he expected. 1 month had passed since the Herrick arrived on Earth. Their base had grown to include 20 buildings and a landing pad for smaller ships. But all was not well among the invaders. Combat trainer Min Seo watched her soldiers struggle through basic exercises. These were elite warriors who could march for days on their homeworld without rest. Now they moved slowly, their breathing heavy. "Again," she ordered, but even she felt the strain in her own body. Her muscles ached constantly. Commander Taeho entered the training area, his posture still strong but his movements careful. "Report," he said. "Sir, the soldiers are getting weaker, not stronger," Min Seo said. "They tire quickly. Their reaction times are slowing." Taeho frowned. Science Officer Juwoo needs to see this. Later, in the command center, Juwoo studied the medical data from all Herrick personnel. Her findings troubled her. "Commander, we have a serious problem," she said. "Earth's gravity is affecting us in unexpected ways." "The gravity here is only slightly stronger than our homeworld," Taeho argued. "Our bodies should adjust." Juwoo shook her head. "It's not just the strength of the gravity. It's something we never encountered before. Gravity variation." She showed him a map of Earth. The planet's gravity changes slightly depending on location. Mountains, valleys, different rock densities underneath. They all create subtle differences. "Why does that matter?" asked Min Seo. "Our bodies evolved on a planet with uniform gravity. Here, as we move around, our bodies constantly try to adjust to these small changes. It creates ongoing stress on our muscles and bones." Taeho looked at his hand, flexing his fingers. They felt stiff. "Can we adapt?" "Eventually, perhaps. But there's more." Juwoo brought up another screen. "Earth's atmosphere contains trace elements we didn't detect initially. They're harmless to humans, but build up in our tissues over time. Combined with the gravity stress, it's weakening us." Taeho stood straighter. fighting against the invisible force that seemed to be dragging him down. Find a solution. We've adapted to worse conditions. Have we? Jihu asked quietly. Dr. Jihoon watched through a powerful microscope as alien cells struggled against human bacteria. The results confirmed his theory. Colonel Yuna, you need to see this, he said. Colonel Yuna entered his laboratory, her uniform crisp despite the late hour. What have you found? The aliens come from a harsh but stable environment, Jihoon explained. Their biology is specialized for extreme conditions, but not for change. He pointed to the microscope. Their cells don't adapt quickly to new threats. They're built for strength, not flexibility. Yunha looked through the microscope. And humans, we evolved on a planet that never stays the same. Earth's history is full of rapid changes, ice ages, warming periods, atmospheric shifts. Species that couldn't adapt quickly died out. He smiled. Humans are the champions of adaptation. Yunha stood up. How can we use this? I've identified 3 vulnerabilities. First, Earth's varying gravity is straining their bodies. Second, our atmosphere contains elements their filtration systems miss. Third, our microbes overwhelm their immune systems. Can we accelerate these effects? Jihoon nodded. I've developed a plan. We can release harmless bacteria near their base, types that evolve particularly fast. Their systems won't keep up with the changes. Yuna studied the satellite images of the alien base. They haven't expanded their territory. They're struggling more than they show. There's something else, Jihoon added. Their base location has unusually variable gravity due to underground cave systems. They chose the worst possible spot on Earth for their physiology. Yunha allowed herself a small smile. They thought they were the ultimate survivors, evolved from the harshest world. But they don't understand what makes Earth special. What's that? Asked Jihoon. Earth doesn't just challenge life, Yuma said. It never challenges it the same way twice. Outside the window, rain began to fall. Soon it would turn to snow, then back to rain. Another ordinary day on the most extraordinary planet in the galaxy. Dawn broke over the forest with a thick fog that clung to the trees. Perfect conditions for an attack, Colonel Yuna thought. She and 20 soldiers lay hidden at the edge of the Herrick base perimeter. They wore camouflage that matched the forest and carried weapons designed based on Dr. Jihoon's research. Remember, she whispered into her radio, aim for their breathing equipment. Their filters are their weakness. The soldiers nodded. They had trained for this moment for weeks. Team 2 in position, came a voice through her earpiece. Team 3 ready, said another. Yunha checked her watch. Begin operation in 3, 2, 1, now. The first part of their plan was simple but effective. Small drones flew over the alien base, releasing a harmless fog that would trigger the aliens' air filters to work harder. As the Herrick soldiers rushed to investigate the alarms, Yunha's team struck. They moved through the forest with practiced ease, using the terrain they knew intimately. The human soldiers fired specially designed bullets that released compounds to clog the aliens' filters upon impact. Inside the Herrick base, alarms blared. Commander Tahoe rushed to the command center. We are under attack, reported a communications officer. Multiple human fighters approaching from 3 directions. Deploy the defense teams, Tahoe ordered. Use full combat protocols. Herrick soldiers rushed to defend their base. They were physically larger and stronger than humans, with advanced weapons. But as they moved into position, many stumbled, their movements sluggish. Squad leader Hyunwoo led the main defense team. Form a line here, he ordered, pointing to a ridge that offered good visibility. His soldiers took positions, energy weapons ready. The first humans they saw seemed to appear from nowhere, moving through the fog like ghosts. The Herrick fired, but the humans were quick, darting between trees and using the uneven ground for cover. They're too fast, one Herrick soldier complained, his breathing heavy inside his helmet. Hyunwoo felt it too. a strange weakness that made his reactions slower than normal. He fired at a human soldier but missed as the target ducked and rolled with surprising agility. On the other side of the base, Colonel Yunha led her team past the outer defenses. They moved quickly and quietly, planting devices on the Herrick buildings. These devices would release more of Dr. Jihoon's special bacteria, harmless to humans, but overwhelming to the alien systems. Team 2, status, she asked into her radio. 5 Herrick down. No human casualties. Yunha smiled. The aliens were struggling more than expected. Inside the command center, Taeho watched in disbelief as the battle unfolded on the screens. His superior forces were losing to what should have been weaker opponents. How is this possible? He demanded. Ju studied the incoming data. The humans are using the environment against us. They move through this terrain as if they were born to it. They were, Min-seo said quietly. A massive explosion rocked the eastern side of the base. 3 Herrick soldiers staggered in, their armor damaged. Report, Taeho ordered. The humans, 1 gasped. They moved through the forest at night, as if it were day. They crossed the rocky valley in minutes. It would take us hours to navigate that terrain. Taeho couldn't understand what was happening. On every death world they had conquered, the native species had struggled against their harsh environment, using technology to survive. These humans seemed to embrace their world's challenges. Outside, the battle was turning against the Herrick. Their superior weapons meant little when they couldn't track their targets. The humans moved through fog, rain, and darkness with ease, striking and then vanishing. Hyunwoo ordered a retreat back to the base perimeter after losing half his squad. As they pulled back, he watched a human soldier run up a nearly vertical rock face, using tiny handholds with incredible skill. They're not fighting against this world, he realized. They're working with it. By the time the sun burned away the morning fog, the battle was over. The Herrick had lost their first engagement against humans, something that had never happened in their long history of conquest. In the command center, Taeho stared at the casualty reports in silence. The invincible Herrick Dominion had been defeated by what they had considered a lesser species, and somehow he knew this was just the beginning. 3 days after landing, the Herrick had established a proper base camp. Large metal structures housed their equipment and soldiers. Force fields protected them from the wild swings in weather. Commander Taeho had arrived to see their progress firsthand. Report, Taeho demanded as he walked with Hyunwoo around the camp. We've secured this area and mapped 5 kilometers in each direction, Hyunwoo said. But sir, there's something strange happening. 3 of our soldiers have fallen ill. Taeho stopped walking. Ill. Our environmental suits should prevent that. That's what concerns me. The suits are working perfectly, but the soldiers are sick anyway. High fever, weakness, confusion. They entered the medical tent where the sick soldiers lay on beds. Their skin had turned an unusual color, pale green instead of the normal gray-blue of healthy Herrick. Science Officer Juwoo looked up from her testing equipment. Commander, I've identified the problem. She showed him a screen with moving images of tiny organisms. Earth has microscopic life forms. Bacteria, viruses, billions of them, everywhere. All planets have microbes, Taeho said dismissively. Not like these. Earth's microbes are incredibly diverse and aggressive. Some have found ways to penetrate our environmental filters. She pointed to one of the 6 soldiers. His blood contains 5 different types of Earth bacteria. They're attacking his cells. Taeho frowned. Can you treat them? I'm trying, but Earth bacteria evolve quickly. They change to resist our medicines. Hyunwoo looked worried. How do humans survive with these invisible enemies everywhere? Their bodies are constantly at war, Ju explained. Human immune systems fight these battles every day. They've evolved alongside these microbes for millions of years. Taeho didn't like this news, but he wouldn't show weakness. Find a solution. We've conquered worse worlds than this. 50 kilometers away, In a military base hidden among mountains, Colonel Yuna studied satellite images of the alien camp. Her sharp eyes missed nothing. 20 years in the army had taught her to spot threats quickly. "They've established a base here," she said, pointing to the screen. "But they haven't expanded beyond this small area." "Why?" Dr. Jihoon adjusted his glasses. The young biologist had been recruited because of his expertise in adaptation biology. "I believe they're having trouble adjusting to Earth." "Explain," Yuma said. "The samples we collected from their landing site show traces of their biology. Their cells are different from ours. Very stable, very strong, but not very adaptable." He showed her microscope images. Human cells can change quickly to meet new challenges. Theirs can't. Yuna considered this information. "You're saying they're physically stronger but less flexible." "Exactly. Think of it like this. They're like specialized tools, perfect for specific jobs. Humans are like Swiss Army knives, not the best at any one thing, but able to handle many different situations." A soldier interrupted them. "Colonel, we've made contact with the hikers who saw the aliens. They're here." 5 civilians entered the room, still wearing their hiking clothes. They looked nervous but excited. "Tell us exactly what you saw," Yuna said. A woman stepped forward. "We were on our usual trail when we saw them. Tall, at least 7 feet, gray-blue skin. They wore armor but seemed to move awkwardly, like they weren't comfortable with the terrain." "Did they see you?" Yuna asked. "Yes. They tried to capture us, but we know those woods better than anyone. We lost them easily." Dr. Jihoon looked thoughtful. "Colonel, I'd like to test a theory. If I'm right, these aliens may be more vulnerable than they appear." "What do you need?" "Samples of common human bacteria and viruses. Nothing dangerous to us, but possibly to them. And I need access to environmental data from the area around their camp." Yuna nodded. "You'll have everything you need. But work quickly. We don't know their intentions yet, but I won't wait for them to show us." As the meeting ended, Yuna stayed behind, studying the images of the alien base. 20 years of military experience told her one thing. These invaders had made a critical mistake. They had chosen Earth as their target, and Earth was not a planet that welcomed conquerors. She smiled slightly. The aliens had no idea what they were up against. Not just the human military, but Earth itself would fight back. Commander Tahoe stood before the holographic display of their base. Red warning indicators flashed across most sectors. 3 months on Earth had reduced his invasion force to a quarter of its original strength. Those still healthy enough to function moved slowly, weakened by Earth's constantly changing conditions. "We must leave this planet," he finally said. The command staff looked at him in shock. The Herrick Dominion had never retreated from a conquest. "Sir," Ju said carefully, "perhaps we can request reinforcements. A larger force might." "No," Tahoe cut her off. "More soldiers would face the same problems. This world," he hesitated, "this world is different from any we've encountered." An alarm blared through the base. "Human forces detected approaching from multiple directions," reported a security officer. "How many?" Tahoe asked. "At least 200, sir. They have vehicles and appear well armed." Tahoe made his decision. "Begin evacuation procedures. Priority for scientific data and samples. We've lost this battle, but what we've learned could save future Herrick expeditions from making the same mistake." As the base erupted into activity, some men rushed into the command center, carrying a sealed container. "Commander, before we leave, you must see this," the biologist insisted. "I've made a discovery about the humans that explains everything." Tahoe didn't have time for scientific curiosities, but something in Sungmin's voice stopped him. "Show me quickly." Sungmin opened the container and removed several objects: a small red fruit, a bottle of clear liquid, and a wrapped food item. "What are these?" Tahoe asked impatiently. "This," Sungmin held up the red fruit, "is called a chili pepper. Humans eat it despite the fact it causes pain in their mouths. This, he pointed to the bottle, is a human drink called alcohol that temporarily poisons their systems. And this, he unwrapped the last item, is something called ice cream, which they eat despite it causing pain in their heads. Tahoe stared at the ordinary-looking items. Why show me human food during an evacuation? Because, Commander, these aren't just food. They're proof that humans deliberately expose themselves to discomfort, pain, and even harmful substances, voluntarily. Sungman's eyes were wide with realization. They've created artificial environments too. Rooms of extreme heat they call saunas, frozen water they voluntarily enter, exercises that push their bodies to failure. Jiwoo understood first. They're training themselves. Exactly. Sungman nodded. Natural selection on Earth created adaptable humans. But then humans took it further. They create artificial hardships to become even more adaptable. Outside, explosions shook the base as human forces began their attack. We must go now, Tahoe ordered. The evacuation ships lifted off as the human army breached the outer defenses. Only Tahoe, Jiwoo, Sungman, and a few others remained in the command center to oversee the final retreat. Suddenly, the doors burst open. Colonel Yuna entered with 5 soldiers, their weapons aimed at the Herek. Don't move, she ordered. Tahoe stood tall despite his weakened condition. You've won, human. We're leaving your world. Yuna studied the alien commander. You came to conquer us. Why are you retreating? Because we cannot adapt to Earth as you can. Tahoe admitted. Your world doesn't just challenge life to be strong. It demands constant change. We evolved for strength. You evolved for adaptability. Yuna kept her weapon steady. So you'll leave and never return. We will report that Earth is unsuitable for conquest, Tahoe said. But I must know, how did your species become so adaptable? For the first time, Yuna smiled slightly. We didn't conquer our world, alien. We grew up with it. Earth taught us that survival isn't about being the strongest. It's about being able to change. As if to emphasize her point, the building shook as a storm rolled in. The humans didn't even glance up, while the remaining Herek instinctively braced themselves. You may leave, Yuna decided. Take your knowledge back to your people. Tell them that Earth isn't for conquering. As Tahoe and his officers boarded the final evacuation ship, he looked back at the planet that had defeated them. Earth hadn't needed massive weapons or superior technology to repel the invaders. It had something far more powerful, the ability to create a species that thrived on change itself. The ship lifted off, leaving behind the first world the Herek Dominion had failed to conquer.